pretty important game for Nottingham Forest actually, because this result could really be telling whether they're going to finish 5th or 6th. I mean, this league is just unpredictable. I sound like a broken record now, but it's the best league in the world. Welcome back to the video, guys. Wow, we have got a lot to go through in this video today. I mean, I thought last week was just as dramatic, but wow, we've got to talk about West Brom being promoted, so congratulations to them. We've got to talk about Swansea and Cardiff securing their places in the playoffs, congratulations to them, and commiserations to Hull City, Charlton and Wigan being relegated to League One. If you got a correct score petition, your comment will be on the screen right now, and 6 of you did, so well done for that. Darlight 13, you got 4 correct scores, which is fantastic, so you are getting the shout out. This is what the Lexus Hall of Fame looks like now. Thank you guys so much for leaving your comments and your predictions. I'm really happy to see how the table has looked. There's 20 people in there, which looks absolutely nice for a league table. For me, I had a fantastic week of predictions. I got 3 correct scores. I got Cardiff and Hull right. I got the Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough game right, and I got the Bristol City and Preston game right. So I did very, very well in terms of predictions, although there were so many outrageous results. But if you guys like what you see, you want to see this for the playoffs and you want to see this for next season, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. We're at 194 subscribers as it stands. 6 more to the target. If you can get to that 200 subscriber mark as soon as you can, it would really make my day. But without any further ado, let's talk about all the drama that went on in the final day of the championship season. Derby Birmingham and Derby Wales. Derby that managed to end on a high with an away win. The scoreline does not necessarily outweigh the whole performance. Derby did make a quick lead after Graham Shinney. Shinney's finish is absolutely brilliant with a drive just outside the box. A brilliant strike that made it 1-0 to Derby. Although Birmingham did grow into the game and they did actually start creating some chances. Jude Bellingham with 3 great chances before the first half ended, and in the start of the second half the momentum still went to Birmingham and they took the lead from that. Wayne Rooney making an absolute howler trying to get rid of a cross. Sundic managed to win it and managed to shoot it past a replacement, Ben Hamer, following that Kelly Roos was injured in the first half. Philip Koku in the 65th minute, following that Derby threw away their lead, made a triple substitution. One of the players he brought on was Whittaker and he got the second goal for Derby. Then for Derby's third, Louis Sibley once again shown how great of a player he is. Birmingham finished this season in 20th place. Can't help to feel that that's a very disappointing position for Birmingham, especially how good they looked before lockdowns. As with Derby, they finished 10th. Which is actually not too bad of a finish. That is higher of a finish that they did finish before the restart. And I think I'm seeing some positive things with Derby. It's going to be interesting to see what they're like next year. And then my result of these batch of games, just absolutely no question about it. Brentford 1, Barnsley 2. I mean, what a result that was. And in terms of Barnsley, how on earth did they manage to survive Leeds, Nottingham Forest and Brentford as their final 3 games? They picked up 2 wins in those 3 games. I don't know how they've done it. They were 10 points off safety in February and Barnsley have now survived. This league is just absolutely bonkers. Brentford were definitely looking nervous, but they were creating a couple of chances. Ben Rama did have a drive which was well saved by Walton. I think word had come to the ground that Fulham and West Brom were falling behind, meaning that Brentford had the door wide open to capitalise and to get promoted. But I think it's poor mentality from Brentford. I think they just kind of took 2 steps back following that. You know, if you heard those results, they would need to have gone forward and to get a goal to really settle their nerves and to put Fulham and West Brom under pressure. They just did not do that at all. Barnsley, who looked really, really good against Nottingham Forest, looked really, really good against Brentford, and they took the lead out of Callum Stiles. Bumo had a fantastic opportunity just before half-time with a great strike, but Walton made a terrific save. Josh De Silva on the right-hand side, he slotted past Walton. That made it 1-1, and we thought this was getting a bit interesting. You know, Brentford needed another goal to secure their place in the Premier League. Just think, 1 goal to get into the Premier League for the first time. But Barnsley completely stopped any chance of Brentford getting promoted, and they got a second goal in the 91st minute. It was a scintillating attack from Barnsley, who at the right hand side squared it to Clark O'Dur, 3 yards out, clipped the ball into the net. That made it 2-1 to Barnsley, and the celebrations were absolutely mad. They knew that with results going their way, they were going to survive in 21st place. They really have looked so much better under Gerrard Struber. It's absolutely terrific to see. Brentford now play Swansea in the playoffs. They can definitely beat Swansea, but They're going to have to keep their morale up. If they don't keep their morale up, then I don't think Brentford will go up. And then we go to Bristol City and Preston, which ended as a 1-1 draw. It was quite an entertaining game actually for the neutral. A load of chances for each side. Bristol City started quite well with Jamie Patterson having a free kick, which was well saved by Declan Rudd. Preston took the lead. And it was Sean Maguire. Finally, he has scored a goal again. And it was terrific play. The assist from Daniel Johnson was beautiful. Sean Maguire still looked a little bit nervous with the ball, but he eventually had enough time and space to shoot it past Bentley. That made it 1-0 to Preston. And you've got to be honest, Bentley kept Bristol City in this game because Preston did rally forward, wanting a couple of goals for themselves. But Bristol City managed to equalise just after the half. A brilliant goal actually. Ziner had a terrific through ball which found Vyman, who crossed it. And then JG just had to do a simple tap in. That made it 1-1. And both teams with chances, they just could not get past the goalkeepers. They had a terrific game for Rudd and for Bentley. Bristol City finishing 12th. Not a fantastic position if I'm going to be honest, especially with the position they were in just before the restart started. As for Preston, obviously they're going to be bitterly disappointed following that they have dropped from the playoffs from starting at the restart down to 9th. Not a bad position for Preston to finish. It's a great improvement from last season, but consistency, especially away from home, has to be addressed if they want to try and go for it again. They saw Cardiff beat Hull by 3-0, which has confirmed their relegation to League One for the first time in 15 years. And this game just was not going Hull's way at all. Hull, for me, had a stonewall penalty 30 minutes in where Joe Bennett fouled Manic Wilkes. Any other time in the Premier League, that's a penalty. How it wasn't given, I have no idea. Cardiff took the lead quite quickly, with Lender's man managed to find Junior Hoyler, who ran through the whole left-hand side, shooting it past Long for his 7th goal of the season. That made it 1-0 to Cardiff. If Hull had that penalty kick, I think it would have been a bit interesting, making it 1-1, but it turned to despair. 4 minutes later, Cardiff get their second from a corner. Joe Walls looped it. Sean Morrison completely unchallenged, poor defending, got a powerful header. If you give Sean Morrison a free header, he's going to score. That made it 2-0 to Cardiff. Danny Ward ended the scoring for Derby, securing their place in the playoff with a 3-0 victory. But poor Hull City, they got relegated following this game. I hope with the squad that they have, they can make an immediate return from League One to the Championship. But no guarantees. League One's a really hard league. As for Cardiff, they're now in the playoffs. They're now going to play against Fulham, which is not an easy test for Cardiff, especially they played against Fulham quite recently and they lost 2-0. But if they can get a good lead in the first leg, then Cardiff can almost sit back and just make things difficult for Fulham. It's going to be really exciting the playoffs this year, I think. And then to result has relegated Charlton. Leeds won by 4-0. Charlton weren't necessarily the favourites to go down for in the position they were in match day 45. However, that heavy defeat just literally set the tone for the other teams below Charlton to capitalise and to overtake them, and that's exactly what happened. From the 13th minute, Leeds took the lead from Ben White's superb volley. It was a terrific goal from the defender. Whether he'll be at Leeds next season, we're going to have to wait and see though. Second goal was brilliant work from Pablo Hernandez to provide the ball to Stuart Dallas, who had a composed shot past Dylan Phillips that made it 2-0 to Leeds. Though Charlton just squandered a lifeline, McGeady managed to put Doughty through and goal, but he managed to not even hit the target. And in the second half, Anik had a great chance as well, but Messier made a brilliant save with the legs. There was definitely no way back for Charlton when Tyler Roberts managed to hit home a Pablo Hernandez corner, completely unmarked as well. And just to finish it off for Leeds, who obviously lifted the trophy after this game, they definitely wanted to win. Ian Poveda managed to square the ball to Jamie Shackleton to score his second goal in his second game. Absolutely terrific form from Shackleton and Poveda, may I say. But it was really poor from Charlton, who did start so well in the season, but following injury from Lyle Taylor and following other players leaving, there was just a huge collapse in the squad. It's such a shame because they put such a fight. Don't know what's going to happen with Lee Bowyer. You know, I could definitely see Birmingham trying to approach him to take over as their manager because he did bits with Charlton in the Championship. He's really unlucky. In terms of Leeds, they celebrated in style. First place, 93 points, 10 points ahead of West Brom in the end. Absolutely terrific that they managed to breach a 10-point gap from second place. They more than deserve to be champions, Leeds United. I'm excited to see them in the Premier League. There we saw a dramatic result go down at Kenilworth Road with a 3-2 victory for Luton Town. They got a home win, Luton, But with only one shot on target, Luton have secured their championship survival. Once again, you just cannot see those sort of stats in any other league. Blackburn took the lead very, very quickly, almost putting the nerves back to Luton Town. Adam Armstrong managing to get a little bit of a touch to get past Lugan. That made it 1-0 to Blackburn, and Luton could have capitulated, a bit like what Charlton did, and just concede 3 or 4, get relegated. But no, Luton completely rallied forward, and they got ahead following 2 own goals from Carter and from Bradley Johnson. Both were a little bit unlucky, especially Carter's one, which it looked like his clearance was going wide of the post, but it just bounced in. It was really a bizarre goal, to say the least. And in the start of the second half, Luton got a penalty, a stonewall penalty for me. James Collis stood up, scored a terrific penalty, that made it 3-1 to Luton. Blackburn did make it a bit nervy for them. Sam Gallagher managed to score a terrific goal to get it back to 3-2. But Luton held on, and following other results going their way, they finished 19th. They were 24th place in February. An absolutely unbelievable turnaround from Nathan Jones, managing to pick up 18 points in their last 9 games. I mean, that is why they stayed up. Nathan Jones should have been at Luton Town sooner. He knows how to get the best of his team. As with Blackburn, it's the defeat that's not going to make them hurt, although it has dropped them down a little bit in the table to 11th place. If they were more consistent, Blackburn definitely could have been in the top 6 for me. So if they could just improve their quality from especially defence, they can do that. I think Blackburn could have a good chance to have a good go next season. Then to the first of the 4 ones, we'll start off with Millwall and Huddersfield, which is 4-1 to Millwall. Gary Rowett had a lot of rotation, 7 changes from their defeat against Queen's Park Rangers. 2 of the new changes combined for the first goal. Matt Smith managed to supply the ball to Mahoney, who had great composure to dribble past 2 defenders and shoot it past Lossell. That made it 1-0 to Millwall. Huddersfield did force a few chances, and eventually they found an equaliser. Trevor Chalobah starting the build-up, driving forward. He found Pritchard, who then supplied it to Carlin Grant. We had great composure to shoot past Bill Cassidy. That made it 1-1. I was thinking we're going to have a very interesting and tight game. But Millwall in the second half completely blew Huddersfield away. They took the lead 2 minutes in from the second half. A brilliant corner from Mahoney, which found Cooper in the back post. He had a powerful shot home. That made it 2-1 to Millwall. Gallagher was a substitute who was introduced by Millwall. A player I do not know a lot about actually, but I tell you what, he made a really good impact. He raced through. Within 2 minutes of him going on, he managed to score. That made it 3-1 to Millwall. And then another substitute, John Daly Budvarson, managed to get Millwall's 4th. As with Huddersfield manager list now, they're going to have to find a manager as soon as they can. If they don't address, then I think Huddersfield will be in around the bottom end of the table again. I'm a bit worried about Huddersfield next season, if I'm going to be honest. Then to the next 4-1, and I don't think I've seen a bigger capitulation than in Nottingham Forest in this game. They had it in their hands to secure their place in the playoffs. Even if they did not have a big defeat, they still could have finished in the top 6. But a 6-goal difference swing had gotten them to fall out in the playoffs for the first time in 262 days since November the 2nd. I mean, I can't describe what I watched in this game. You know, it wasn't the same Nottingham Forest that I'm used to. Stoke, however, were absolutely terrific, you know, and I've criticised them for not being defensively organised away from home. I'm thinking back to their 5-0 defeat against Leeds United, although they were completely that opposite team against Nottingham Forest. They were up for this one. Despite Forest starting well, clearly looking to try and secure their place in the playoff, against the run of play a little bit, Stoke did take the lead. Oakley Booth, who was introduced late on following an injury from Nick Powell, managed to take a short corner, and Thompson swung in the cross, and Danny Batt, once again, with a 3rd consecutive game he has scored another one. He planted the header into the net. That made it 1-0 to Stoke. Danny Batt in terrific form. Davies in Stoke's goal had a terrific performance. He made a double save. Lolly was 1-on-1 with Davies, and he did absolutely well to put Lolly off. And following that pressure, which Forest did manage to take into the second half as well, they managed to equalise an hour in. And it was a great header from Figueiredo following a corner that made it 1-1. And I thought Nottingham Forest have secured their place in the top 6. 13 minutes later, Stoke retook the lead. James McLean managed to score, looking like he was just about onside. Then 5 minutes later, 3-1, almost an exact replica of Stoke's second goal. This time it was tapped in by Lee Gregory, and that was the goal that killed Nottingham Forest, and they were sitting outside of the top 6. And things just went from bad to worse for Nottingham Forest, where Stoke raced through on goal. Nuno da Costa tried to clear it, but then it turned into his own net. That made it 4-1 1 to Stoke. I could definitely potentially see Stoke being a pretty good side next year. They're only going to need to start the season better. If they can have a great start to next season, then I think Stoke will be one of the favourites. You know, that may be a bit bold for me for saying that, but in terms of performances and that performance there, you know, even if they're not playing well, for how defensively organised they are and how devastating they are with their attacking options, I think Stoke definitely have a squad that can definitely get promoted. And then to the other 4-1 victory, and it was to Swansea. How on earth did they achieve a 5-goal swing? They weren't even in conversation of getting into the top 6, but they achieved it. They finished 6th. Let's talk about how they did it. Brewster for me scored the goal of midweek. A terrific strike from about 30 yards out, bewildering the reach of Cabral. But Reading did rally well though. They did try and press for an equaliser, although they did go down to 10 men. Yaku Mate, with a moment of madness, just got his hands around Michael van der Horn, and I just don't know what happened there. But Mate did get sent off from it, but Reading managed to equalise 3 minutes later. Bidwell conceded a penalty by fouling Rinomhota, who looked good going forward. Puskas stepped forward. He scored. That made it 1-1 going to the half-time. I thought we were going to have a cracking game on our hands. I think Reading going down to 10 men really did set the tempo for Swansea to go all out, and they did. Routledge managed to get Swansea ahead, and I think the comeback for the top 6 was definitely on after Nottingham Forest was still behind and Swansea took the lead. Then Liam Cullen with a goal, now level with Nottingham Forest with goal difference and points. 1 goal was just needed to leapfrog Nottingham Forest, and they did do so, with Rain Routledge once again scoring the goal. That made it 4-1, and they even cemented their place following Nuno da Costa's own goal as well. A brilliant job by Steve Cooper. Poor performance by Reading though. I mean, they did look good when they had 11 men on the field, but Cabral, I've praised him a lot of times in Reading's goal, but he did look a little bit shaky tonight. I'm really excited. Swansea play Brentford. This is a really cracky tie. And you know what? I sent a tweet about this. I am actually edging Swansea as my current favourites to win the playoffs, because right now they're going to have the highest morale out of all of the 4 teams, and they've definitely got the attacking players to hurt people, and they definitely got a strong enough defence. Then we saw Middlesbrough secure their championship status with a 2-1 victory against Sheffield Wednesday, and I'd say it was a terrific performance, and I'm picking out one individual, Paddy McNair. Wow, he had the game of his life in that game for his goal and his contribution and the threat he had going forward. I don't pick out many players often, but Paddy McNair for me had a terrific game for Middlesbrough in this game. Sheffield Wednesday did take the lead though. It was poor for Middlesbrough defensively. Jacob Murphy had way too much space. He completely wrong-footed Stojanovic. That made it 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. Although Middlesbrough, continuing their very strong away record, got back to it immediately, and it's that man, Paddy McNair. It was a great pass from Tavernier, who found McNair with a lot of space. He slotted down past Wildsmith. That made it 1-1. It wasn't the most entertaining game in the world, but we did find a winner, and it was Middlesbrough with the winner. For Somber Longer, with his terrific form since Neil Warnock came in. It's really poor from Joe Wildsmith though. He knows he should have done a lot more to keep it out, but alas, it went through the net and made it 2-1 to Middlesbrough. You know what? I've seen similar things to what he did for Cardiff. You know, Cardiff in disarray. He managed to get them up in a decent position in the end, and if he could just get given time with his philosophy, you know, it's going to be really hard to beat these teams. If they could just improve their home record and their defence, I think Middlesbrough, with the experience of Neil Warnock, of how many promotions he's had out of the Championship, I think Middlesbrough can challenge. And then to the game that saw West Brom promoted. West Brom 2, Queen's Park Rangers 2. It wasn't an overall convincing performance by West Brom, but it was enough. And that's what matters. It's enough. They got the point. They got promoted. And I'm excited to see Slaven Bilic back in the Premier League because he's such a character. Queen's Park Rangers took the lead from Ryan Manning. He was about 20 yards out here. He took a strike which was well blocked, but then his second strike managed to bewilder Sam Johnston, getting past him in the bottom corner. And that made it 1-0 to Queen's Park Rangers, and from that moment on the door was open for Fulham and for Brentford to try and capitalise, but following that both of them were losing at this point, they just could not find the momentum to try and get into that promotion place. You had a feeling with the way that West Brom came out to play that West Brom were not going to make this easy. They were definitely going out to score goals, and they definitely did. And my player of midweek for me is Grady Diangana. His performance in this game was terrific. He got a goal and an assist. He limped West Brom over the line to get them promoted. His first goal was absolutely terrific. The position he was in, the very tight angle he was in, he managed to just squeeze it just past Lumley. A great finish by Dean Garner. And then the second goal, which Callum Robinson managed to score, Dean Garner got through about 3 players. Just the skill he had as well. No wonder he's in high in demand, especially from West Ham. Dribbled forward to left, squared it to Robinson, completely free of space, shot it past Lumley. That made it 2-1 to West Brom. Although Queen's Park Rangers in extraordinary circumstances got back into it. Eberechi Eze through and goal, just an absolute incredible strike from Eze to get past Sam Johnson. That made it 2-2. And both sides did have chances to win the game. Following that, West Brom did hear the news of Brentford and Fulham. I think as soon as Queen's Park Rangers got their equaliser, they were just making sure that they just weren't going to see more goals. They didn't. West Brom are up. And as for Queen's Park Rangers, it's a pretty good performance actually. You know, I was a little bit concerned about Queen's Park Rangers midway through the restart, although their final 3 performances have suggested to me that they do have goal scorers. And if they could just improve their defence like Middlesbrough, definitely they could have a good season. We're just going to have to wait and see. They finished 13th place, which I think is a good position for Queen's Park Rangers considering where they were last year. We finally made it to the final one. Wigan won, Fulham won, and wow, I feel so bad for Wigan because they had the chances in this game. Moore had a goal disallowed for offside, but Kiefer Moore eventually managed to score a goal, winning a header that made it 1-0 to Wigan. And Wigan had so many chances to go ahead, especially in the second half, but Marek Rodak, I could think that he made 2 to 3 world-class saves. There was one chance in particular, which I think it was Moore again, who headed the ball on the ground. It was going so quickly, but Rodak got down so quickly to parry it away. Fulham, however, did manage to equalise from Nixon's Cabano, continuing his terrific form since the restart actually. He scored a very different free kick against Sheffield Wednesday, scored an even better one against Wigan, and it was an absolute stunner. That made it 1-1, and that was the goal that confirmed Wigan Athletics relegation. Wigan did continue to look dangerous, especially with set pieces taken by Naismith. Unfortunately, they just could not punch through Rodak, who was just having a terrific performance in goal. Obviously, their 12-point deduction is subject to appeal. If it's overturned, then they'll survive and Barnsley will go down. But as it stands, Wigan will be going down in 23rd place, which is a real shame for this club. I don't think there's been any club who has beaten a team 8-0 and have gone down. I think that could be a first. In terms of Fulham, they finished 4th place. They've got to play against Cardiff in the playoffs. Not the worst side to play against, especially that they've played against them quite recently, so Scott Parker will know how they play. If we get a South Wales playoff final with Cardiff and Swansea, it's going to be interesting, but you could even see a West London final of Fulham and Brentford. The opportunities there are endless. But that wraps it up. There is the final championship table following all championship games being played. Leeds first 93, West Brom secured a promotion on 83. Fulham and Brentford occupy 3rd and 4th on 81 points. Nottingham Forest, who looked like they secured a place in the playoff, been there since November the 2nd, drop out of the top 6 in 7th place, with Swansea now taking over and have occupied their Welsh rivals Cardiff up there as well. The rest of the table, we see Millwall, Preston, Derby and Blackburn just missing out in the top 6. The Queen's Park Rangers finishing a respectable position in 13th, Reading 14th and Stoke, look at that, 15th place. Absolutely terrific from Stoke. We then have Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough finishing 16th and 17th place respectively. Hull finished at rock bottom with 45 points. It's been a disastrous season, but Wigan and Charlton going down really tough for them because they both had so much fight. Barnsley, with just a little bit more fight, managed to survive. Birmingham 20th and Luton in 19th place. I mean, this season has just been absolutely mad. But that wraps it up. The end of the championship season. It's been fun making championship content for you guys. I will continue with the playoff. I might release it tomorrow. It just depends how much time I have. But if you like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. My target for next season is to get more subscribers, obviously, but to have a collaboration of some sort with a somewhat good football YouTuber. But you guys are going to be the main catalyst to making this happen. You need to keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep throwing my name out there, you know, get me into the conversation of the championship and football YouTubers. Then eventually, give it a bit of time, I'll find a collaboration, I promise. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys for the support of this series. It's been so much fun doing this with you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care guys.